had this idea, why don't we do something like a Shark Tank? So the Shark Tank is this program, this format where you have the funders coming there, and the sharks, which are the evil VCs, they will give them suggestions, investment proposal, they will negotiate deals. So why not do something like that, but for Bitcoin? And the idea started to circulate last year, and then we discussed it with Fulgur and Tether, and we decided to actually do it. And the fund, the actual Shark Tank format is done in a way where there is no guarantee prize. You cannot win based on a competition. The sharks will just propose their investments if they want. If they don't want, they don't. So you can come and go on without any kind of investment. In this case, I wanted to give a little bit more of guarantees because the Bitcoin ecosystem is still very small. The deal flow of startups is not giant, and it's very important for me that after this effort, after we organize all these things, we do have some funders coming in Lugano. So we negotiated with the Planb fund to have a minimum guarantee investment deal. So basically, now we are receiving submissions from all these startups from all around the world, and I will tell you a little bit about the details. And we will select next week. We're going to select 8 startups that will come to Lugano. Of these 8 startups that will come to pitch in Lugano, the judges will basically rank them all, and there will be 3 best ranking startups, the podium basically, the first, the second, and the third, and these will receive an investment.
Hello, this is the Bitcoin Libertarian. Our guest today is Giacomo Zucco. Giacomo is a pioneering force in the Bitcoin ecosystem whose journey from theoretical physics to Bitcoin maximalism has shaped the way we think about digital money and sovereignty. With a degree in physics from the University degli Studi di Milano, Giacomo cuts his teeth as a technology consultant before diving headfirst into Bitcoin around 2011, becoming one of its earliest and most vocal advocates. As the director of the Planb network, he's not only fostering cutting-edge Bitcoin innovation, but also serving as an advisor and investor in groundbreaking projects like Relay, Arc Labs, and Geyser, driving real-world adoption and education through initiatives like Bicademy and his influential Discovering Bitcoin series. A self-proclaimed Sats Maxi, Giacomo has delivered unforgettable keynotes on Bitcoin history as the midweek speech on the Baltic Honey Badger 2023, reminding us why Bitcoin stands alone as the ultimate protocol for financial freedom. Today, we will talk about his ultimate project, Cyphertank, the Bitcoin-only pitch competition he's championing with over $850,000 in prizes. Giacomo, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me and for the great presentation. Actually, there is one minor correction. I started in 2013, not 11. Just a couple of years, but couldn't make the difference price-wise.
Of course, but what I always say, I started in 2011, but I didn't understood Bitcoin until 2020.
Until yeah.
That's happened to me. So that gives me the introduction to do the first question. The first question that I do to everyone is, Giacomo, how were you on a spiel?
So I was translating, I was helping a few friends to translate articles from English on the Mises.org website. So basically libertarian Austrian economics article into Italian in Mises.it. And in December 2012, one of those articles was about Bitcoin. Then I was in a few chat groups about Assange and WikiLeaks, after people joining in a protest in London next to the embassy and stuff like that. And just 1 week after I helped translating the article about Bitcoin in Mises, I started to hear about Bitcoin mentioned connected to WikiLeaks. And this was very impressive to me because these two different clusters, these political activism groups, they were mostly disconnected. I was in both, but usually people in the WikiLeaks kind of anonymous, Occupy Wall Street kind of stuff, they tended to be left libertarian with strong emphasis on privacy and good computer literacy, but zero understanding of economics, money, capitalism. They were a little bit even socialist leaning to some degree. While the Mises people, they were very good in history of money, theory of money, economics, but usually barely, most of them, like conservative leaning, right libertarian, sometimes computer illiterate, and not very strong in stuff like cypherpunk ideology. So I was in both groups, and Bitcoin started to appear in both, which really impressed me. And then in January 2013, just I went back to work after the vacation, and Bitcoin was mentioned as purely as a technological thing by a colleague in Accenture in an email, like, oh look, there is this new cryptography idea when you can have proof of work. So there were basically three sides of my life that were completely disconnected, and then Bitcoin started to pop up in all three of them basically in 3 weeks. So I became completely obsessed after that. It basically felt like a sign or something, and I was completely orange pilled. Then before I started to be non-stupid about Bitcoin, many years had to pass. Like for 1 year, I was a pure shitcoiner. I was thinking, okay, if Bitcoin is possible, then everything is possible. I was doing like Ripple, NXT, whatever kind of bullshit. And then I started to really understand the store of value thesis and the appreciation dynamics after a couple of years of spending basically everything I had in. I bought a mining Butterfly Labs jalapeno ASICs, which arrived 9 months after being obsolete. I've lost almost 3 Bitcoin in empty gox. I wasted so much money before I understood how it worked. And then, of course, I've lost everything in a tragic boating accident.
Of course, yeah, same here. I have, since I moved to the south of Hong Kong Island, there are a lot of boats, and I had a boat accidents and lost everything.
Happens.
But yes, I think that the story of everything is nice to hear that you are a big name in the Bitcoin ecosystem, and listen that you also had your shitcoining past, as me, as many of us. It redeems a little bit to us, because again, I was telling you, and I tell to everyone, I discovered Bitcoin very early, but I didn't pay attention, or I didn't understood until the pandemic. And in the middle, I went through shitcoins, trading, doing this stuff, until you really understand what Bitcoin is, and why it's different.
Not only happens to many, but it's also the fact that happened to me is one of the reasons I'm so strong about this Bitcoin only framework. Like my wife Mir, she works with me since many years. She skipped the shitcoin phase. She arrived directly into Bitcoin only. So she's a maximalist, but she's not really very emotional about that. So while I think I am, because I think about myself in 2012 and how stupid I was, and so I have to I've had to be strong about that. I think that there are rational arguments for maximalism and Bitcoin only, but there's also an emotional part which is connected with the regret to have wasted time, money, and reputation into shitcoin schemes.
So this is a good point. It's a good point. So you think that the ones that we are the maxis that have a shitcoin past, we are the toxic maximalists.
Yeah, we tend to be more toxic, yeah, because we see in the face of the shitcoin, we see ourselves.
Yeah, that probably is the because probably your wife on Saturday, I had two guys from Bolivia that went in my podcast, and they were 100% Bitcoin. They discovered Bitcoin, never did any shitcoining. But yes, probably us that went through this stage, that we want to, like in the Men in Black movie, that they flash you and you forget that you had some stuff. Probably we become toxic. So let's move to what I wanted to discuss today. That is the Cypher Tank competition. Tell us about how the idea started, and why it's important, and all the things that the audience wants to know about that.
Sure. So the idea started. I have to tell you a little bit before to the audience about the whole Planb idea. So the Planb project in Lugano started off as a partnership between the town of Lugano, the mayor of Lugano, and the town council, and the company Tether. And then Fulgur Ventures also joined the partnership. And it was basically a project in 5 points. The first point was a new conference in Lugano, the Planb Forum. So that started, was very successful. Then it happened again. Then he expanded to El Salvador. Now there is also a Planb forum in El Salvador and one in Lugano. And maybe in the future we will have a third one in Asia. So the conference is good, is growing, very, very good. The second point was an education program. It started in 2022 as a Lugano summer school, was just one single one-off event. And then I took it over, I changed it a bit, I expanded it, and now we have a tech school every year, a business school every year, the summer school, a lot, and hundreds and hundreds of free education courses that you can find in Planb.network. So we have an entire academy with paid courses, free courses. So there was the forum, the education program. The third one was accepting Bitcoin in the city of Lugano. So the network of merchants, and now we have more than 400 merchants. You can buy a car in Bitcoin only. You can, yeah. I bought my car in Bitcoin, and you can in Lightning, which is also very, very difficult because I needed a very big channel. Yes, because the way they did it, because of legal reasons in 2022, was Lightning only. The merchants that are using the things provided by Tether and the town, it doesn't have on chain, only Lightning. The reason is because of price slippage during the confirmation time. So right now we're going to evolve it with BTC Pay Server and ARC. So many new ways to do a single invoice that can also go on chain in different ways. But back then there was only Lightning. So to pay my car in Lightning was pretty difficult. I had to have very, very big channels. So the third one is merchant adoption. And the fourth one was a startup hub, a co-working, co-living, private office space to have meetups and meetings and hackathons and stuff, which happen. Now it's called the proof of work space, POW.space. And then the last point was a fund, a VC fund for Bitcoin startups. It's called the Planb VC fund. So if you go on planbvc.fund, you can find it, you can apply. So this fund started with 100 million from Tether and Fulgur, but the problem is that this fund was initially imagined to bring startups to Lugano in the context of this Bitcoin City idea, but we realize it's not very easy to onboard and relocate business in Lugano. Switzerland in generally is very Bitcoin is very business friendly in general, low taxes, good regulation, and Lugano particularly is very Bitcoin friendly. But that's not enough for a funder to decide to come here as opposed to go elsewhere. There are many jurisdictions that may be even more interesting than Switzerland. Somebody will still create a company in Delaware or some parts of the US. Some people would prefer Dubai or some Caribbean states. Many startups have decided to go to El Salvador, the Bitcoin country. So there is a lot of competition for startup creation. So we wanted to do something which is very specific to Lugano, and it's on top of the normal evaluation methods of the VC funds. So the VC funds right now is run by the same management of Fulgur Ventures, and they did an investment in Jan3, an investment in Debify, an investment in Breeze, so they are doing a lot of good things. But we wanted to do something a little bit more popular that could showcase the Lugano reality to all the funders and the startuppers. So the idea from one of the managers of the POW space, the proof of work space, Matteo, had this idea: why don't we do something like a Shark Tank? So the Shark Tank is this program, this format where you have the funders coming there, and the sharks, which are the evil VCs, they will give them suggestions, investment proposal, they will negotiate deals. So why not do something like that, but for Bitcoin? And the idea started to circulate last year, and then we discussed it with Fulgur and Tether, and we decided to actually do it. And the fund, so the actual Shark Tank format is done in a way where there is no guarantee prize. You cannot win based on a competition. The sharks will just propose their investments if they want. If they don't want, they don't. So you can come and go on without any kind of investment. In this case, I wanted to give a little bit more of guarantees, because the Bitcoin ecosystem is still very small. The deal flow of startups is not giant, and it's very important for me that after this effort, after we organize all these things, we do have some funders coming in Lugano. So we negotiated with the Planb fund to have a minimum guarantee investment deal. So basically, now we are receiving submissions from all the startups from all around the world, and I will tell you a little bit about the details. And we will select next week. We're going to select 8 startups that will come to Lugano. Of these 8 startups that will come to pitch in Lugano, we will the judges will basically rank them all, and there will be 3 best ranking startups, the podium basically, the first, the second, and the third, and these will receive an investment. So it's already pre-allocated. There will not be. It's not an if. It's just a how. So the investment will be in exchange for a safe, a standard Y Combinator kind of safe, so they can give equity or they can give the money back after a liquidity event. So it's a standard safe. The evaluation of the safe is very low. It's for very early project stage because it's 3 million post money. So if your project is a 20 million evaluation projects, you may not want that kind of safe, but you can still take it and you can just give the money back when there is a major investment event. So you don't have to accept that evaluation. It's just a safe. So the first, second, and third ranking projects will receive 150 US dollar each in exchange of this safe. Plus, we will have another additional $200 that will be given in local services if you relocate to Lugano. So you will receive the investments regardless. But if you come to Lugano, we allocate $100,000 for the first ranking startups and $600 for the second and $40,000 to the third in services like office space, lawyers, incorporation, notary services, even relocation for the team, and all these kind of services. So that's the deal for the winners. And on top of that, we also have the Planb Foundation, which is a non-profit entity, unlike the VC fund, which is for profit, of course, it's a venture reality. And the foundation will give additional $200,000 in services for non-profit projects. And we will have categories in the sense that the fund, if you go on planbvc.fund, you will see there are 4 categories. The first one is on-chain. So everything which has to do with Bitcoin on-chain, which is basically security, mining, hardware wallet, inheritance, all these kind of things. Then there is a second category, which is off-chain, L2. So basically Lightnings, RGB, ARC, Spark, Liquid, all these kind of things, layer 2s, eCash, any kind of off-chain technique. The third one is about peer-to-peer, which is about anything which is Bitcoin contiguous and Bitcoin connected, and it's also based on privacy, peer-to-peer, open source, decentralization, but it's not specific to Bitcoin. So we call it Bitcoin only in the sense that we don't allow any shitcoin projects. But it's not Bitcoin only in the sense that it must be a Bitcoin project. It could be a Bitcoin contiguous project. For example, you can build on Nostr, BitTorrent, Tor, E2P, I2P, Hole Punch, all this kind of decentralized technology. Tether is sponsoring, for example, QBAC for AI, and all this kind of Kit, all this kind of decentralized technology. You can. There is a third category which is only on that, and then there is a category on emerging markets, which could be literally everything which is Bitcoin connected into emerging markets, but it could be really everything. We will select 2 startups for each category. So the 8 participants in Lugano will be selected among these categories, and then the podium will be cross category. So the 3 winners could be 3 from the same category or 1 per each category, doesn't matter. For the non-profits, the category will be 1 human rights. So basically everything that advances human rights, a little bit like the grants from the Human Rights Foundation. And the second will be for scientific breakthrough. So basically cryptography, advanced cryptographies for ideas for Bitcoin. The third one will be Lugano Bitcoin Citadel. So any idea which is specific for the local territorial adoption of Bitcoin. I think I've said it all.
Excellent. Yes, yes. And regarding this is a personal question. Regarding the emerging markets, the project you said can be anything. Can be probably something related to education or I don't know, streaming in Spanish, something like that. Bitcoin only content?
It can be. I'm skeptical. So the way these projects will be selected, we will take the judges. There are like great Bitcoin names like Matt Odell, Alan Farrington, Willie Wu, Preston Pish. So these big names are judges in the during the format, and they will also be the judges of the selection. So next week we will split down with also, especially with the help of Lighting Venture and Mike Jarmus, which are being super active into this. We will split down the valuation among all the judges, including, of course, Fulgur and Tether themselves, and Paolo Ardoino and Oleg Mitkalski will also be part of the judges, and they will pick the startups. So I will assume that for a typical VC perspective, education programs and podcast programs will have a huge challenge of demonstrating scalability in terms of profits, so profitability, which is the first step, and then scalability of the profits.
Yes, of course.
We always have to remember that VC means that you invest in many things, and most of them will fail to deliver. And the few they have to deliver with basically a scaling coefficient which is so high that it will compensate for all the failed investment. So usually VC will only invest in something which is extremely scalable. Now, education can be scalable, but it's hard to make it so. So there is no limit to submission. If you submit, judges will review the submission. Of course, I will. It will not be me selecting, so I cannot speak for the judges. In my experience in the field, I would assume that it will be very hard for a project that is about sharing of information, like Planb Network, the company I'm running now, is all about education. And even if we received some little investment money, it's not typically a VC investable company because we don't promise scalable revenues and scalable profits, especially, and dividends. So it's you can do it, but it's especially something that I will consider if you have a business plan that could actually scale up and interest VC business, but VC business.
Interesting. And how is the process for a startup to apply to participate in the contest? And how is when they are selected, they go to Lugano, they pitch? How is the process?
So in the next week, basically, so until Friday, you go. We were very humble, so we just did a Google form, nothing fancy. It's a Google form, so you just have to fill the Google form. The Google form, you can find it. It's a. Not, I will not spell the link now, but you can find it on my profile. If you go on Twitter, X Giacomo Zucco, we can put it maybe in the description when you load on YouTube. And probably the best, simplest way to go is you go on planbweek.com, Planb Week, which is a list of all the events of the Planb Week in October. And then you will find two events, which are the Cyphertank semifinal and the Cyphertank finals. And in the events, you can either book your seat as an attendee. Don't do that if you're a founder. That's only for attendees. Or you can apply your project. Do that. You click that, and you will go in the Google form. Now you fill the Google form until this weekend. During this weekend, we will stop on the 10th at the basically local midnight in Lugano of the 10th of October. We stop the application submission, and we take down the Google form, and we start evaluating with the judges. The judges will give their votes to the startups, and then for each category, we will pick the two best ranking projects. This we will take contact with these projects with the contact that you put in the form, and we will tell you we are expected to come in Lugano on the 20th. So assuming you are a for-profit startup, so not a non-profit, you're expected to come to Lugano on the 22nd of October. We have a budget to sponsor the travel, and we will provide the accommodation. So it should be almost cost zero. Of course, if you're coming from Mars, passing through Australia, maybe our budget will not cover all the travel. But if you have a reasonable travel, we will cover it and the accommodation as well. And you will arrive on the 21st night. And then the 22nd morning, Lugano time, there will be the first batch of semifinal. And then in the afternoon, the second batch. Now, if our accommodation will also cover until the 27th, because if you are one of the 3 startups that are actually selected, the best ranking, you will have access to the second day, which is the final on the 27th of October in the afternoon, and there you will know if you are first, second, and third, which is different amount of money. So it matters that you stay until the end. And if you are a non-profit, you will just be called to come on the 27th morning. So for the non-profit, we just called 3 projects. All the 3 of them, the 3 that we select already won, and now it's only a matter of assigning the first, the second, and the third, which is different amount of money that we will provide in services. So just apply and then wait to be contacted. If you are not, I mean, we will still contact you to say, I'm sorry, you didn't pass the selection. Try again next time. Again, don't try to bribe me. If you want to send me money, do it, but don't bribe me because I'm not one. I'm just organizing, but I'm not a judge, so I cannot push your project. So any bribe that I receive would be considered just a gift without any kind of string attached.
So I cannot do business with you because I
Yeah,
start this
sorry.
I start distributing the Google Doc among my network and say apply. I can talk with one of the judges if you give me money. So okay, no
No,
problem.
but
No
you have the
problem.
name. You have the names of the other judges, so you can try to bribe them directly.
I will try to talk with Mike Jarmus, that he's the one who contacted me for this. So
So
and
it's a weak point. You can try.
and all of this is gonna be, because I also read that it's gonna be filmed like in
Yes.
a reality show. That is interesting, right? How
Yeah,
is
that's the
this?
thing. In order to make it so, this is a real investment, so there will be real money in exchange for real equity, but the excuses that we use to make it feasible is to produce an entertaining format, so something that people can watch with some entertaining value. So we will record everything in Lugano. We will not live stream. So if you come, you will be there pitching, but if you don't come, you will not see anything unless you book. There are only 20, since the space is small. We just put on some sort of auction 21 seats. So there are just 21 seats to watch it if you want. If they are expensive, because we want to limit the supply, and if you don't come, you will hear nothing about this until we finish the post production. And the idea is to, of course, we will not do something really Shark Tank style in terms of production, but something very good. And we will release it on X, YouTube, and Rumble probably in December, because we want to take a good time to. So even the actual deal of relocation to Lugano, we will explain to the startuppers that they're to be prepared in order to become public after the release of the format in December. So we're talking about a real relocation happening around January, most likely.
And this is gonna be for the startups who win. They cannot talk that they won until the episode is released.
Yeah, so we discussed about this. We will probably not keep the secret about the winner, because it's it's hard. So from one point of view, in order to keep to keep the tension, to keep the entertaining value, it would be better for everybody that watches if they didn't know anything about that. But then again, we didn't want to make really the startup signing an NDA. So we will heavily ask to the startups to just keep the secret, but we're not going to sue you if something leaks. We can still deny it. So I cannot confirm nor deny that something is official until you will see the result. But that's a very good point. We will try to keep the surprise in order also to maximize the entertaining value of the product.
Yeah, because sometimes when you have a good a nice news, a good news to give, probably it's difficult
To
to
keep it
keep the
secret.
secret. But
We will not. So without any officiality, people may hint something, but let's hope that the surprise remain good.
yeah, but at the end of the day, the good thing is that even though the startups say, okay, we won, you can go and watch the video. That I think that this is interesting, because it's good to see the experience for future startups. How is the pitch? How are the questions? Usually when you do for a pitch or for an interview, try to check what happened before, and this is gonna be very interesting. And what is objective of this? Do you plan to put a seed that can grow in the future and multiply these kind of events across the world?
Yes. So after we do this experiment, we will edit the result. We will publish it in December, and then we will check the feedback basically from the community. The feedback will be twofolds. One, well, threefolds actually. Will be three kinds of feedback. One, the deal flow that we managed to attract. So are the startups very good? So is it an added value, especially for the Planb fund, because we managed to attract very good startups or not? If not, then maybe we stop here. If yes, there is a good reason to maybe expand this format further. Second is feedback from the community. Is this entertaining? Is this interesting? Will people watch it? Will people talk about it? Will people share it? If yes, that's a very good reason to do it again and to expand it. If not, maybe we go back to do something like a backroom deal without so much public exposition and without investing in the entertainment part if it's not appreciated. And third is also which part of the investments will actually happen to move to Lugano for real. So you get 150,000 for equity, and then you get let's assume you're the first. You get another 1,000, another 100,000 in local services. Is that interesting for you? Are you coming to Lugano? Are you sending some part of the team in Lugano, incorporating? Are you using this additional money or not? If yes, we know that we are working well in Lugano. If not, we take the feedback and we know that we have adjusted the attractivity of the local ecosystem because that's one of the goals. So yeah, this is an experiment, and we want to measure the results in order to learn. And if so, let's assume there are basically three scenarios. The sad scenario, but which is okay, it's life. It didn't work in some of these regards. It will just be something fun that will remain in the Bitcoin meme history. We will have some memes, some clips, and we'll have fond memories.
I'm sure there's gonna
That's
be a lot of memes after that.
that's the very minimum. So this is the bad scenario, the very bad one, the worst case scenario. Better scenario is we are happy. We do it again, maybe bigger next year in Lugano. So after 1 year in Lugano, we do that again. We already have all the deals. The absolutely best case scenario is it's so crazily successful in terms of deal flow and reception that we want to do it even before the next October somewhere else in the world. So maybe we do it in Tokyo, in the Planb house that we have in Tokyo, the Tokyo base, or we do it in Turin, Italy, or we do it in San Salvador, or we do it with some partners like in Madeira with the FI community, or we do it in Vinteum in Brazil or wherever in the world. This is of course that it would be good because it means that it's so successful that we have to accelerate. Not so good for me because I would like to rest after after November for a while. But let's see how it goes.
Yeah. Your wife, when I talked to your wife on Instagram, she said me, oh, Giacomo is super busy, so let's find a spot to do the record,
Yeah,
to do
it's hard.
the stream. So, and talking about the location in Lugano for the startups that potentially win the contest, what are the advantage of being located in Lugano compared with other Bitcoin or crypto hubs like Singapore, Dubai, United States, El Salvador, or even Hong Kong?
Yeah, so Switzerland in general is a decent jurisdiction for Bitcoin business because taxation is low and predictable, bureaucracy is fairly manageable, labor laws are pretty good, pretty liberal. You can hire, you can fire, you can really build your startup. So it's not like Italy, for example. It's in Europe, but it's not like France or Italy. It's a reasonable jurisdiction for business. It may not be the most attractive in general. There is no capital gain on Bitcoin, but there is a wealth tax on Bitcoin as well. So you have to understand it a bit. Within Switzerland, Lugano, for now, is not really the most attractive place in Switzerland. It's a good one, but there are many other cantons where taxation is even lower. So it's a reasonable thing, but it's not necessarily the best in the world. But then you have to factor the other factors. The second factor, which you don't have elsewhere, is that you have a very strong connection with the TradFi world, with the banking, basically, the fiat world. If you do business in Dubai, yes, you may have some kind of regulatory framework that will be okay, but it's mostly still offshore. You don't have a very strong connection with the onshore banking system. In Switzerland, you have direct connection with payments, commercial, and financial routes from the country. So it's a very interesting business hub, even outside, even for a connection between the TradFi world and Bitcoin. That's why DebiFi is in Lugano, for example, and Arc Labs and many others, and Blockstream as well. And the third element is an element of Bitcoin ecosystem. So if you go to Singapore, maybe you have great taxes, but then you don't have a super strong local Bitcoin ecosystem. If you come to Lugano, well, I mean, you can have something, but the
No,
critical mass, the network effect is something that really starts when you have a critical mass, right? So in Lugano, you come here and you share the office with Arc Labs, building Arcade, one of the most interesting layer 2 solutions, and you share the office with DebiFi, doing this kind of Bitcoin credit stuff, which is very important. You share your office with people working on Ocean and Revolution in mining pools and Bitvault, and of course you share your office with Blockstream people that are also creating Blockstream research and the Blockstream Institute, which is very interesting as well. So this is a kind of ecosystem. We also have a very strong meetup. We started in 5 people 2 years ago, and now it's almost 100 people every week. We will start the first BitDev, the developer meetup with Tiero, Marco Argentieri of Arc Labs, Vincenzo Palazzo of Ocean, Lawrence Naum of Blockstream, and Leonardo Comandino of Blockstream. And so we have good Bitcoin developers as well, doing technical stuff as well. So it's a strong ecosystem, and that's basically the third reason. The fourth reason is quality of life. Lugano, for me, I live here. I'm particularly happy because you basically have an almost German organization with an almost Italian quality of life. Food here is basically Italian. The climate is in Lugano is beautiful, stuff is beautiful, but you also have a working society and a working business ecosystem, which you will not have in the Mediterranean, let's say Europe. So that's a very good it's a very good trade-off.
Interesting. Yeah, I was gonna point but you answered the Bitcoin community, because probably in other crypto hubs with easy banking or low taxes like Singapore, Dubai, even here in Hong Kong, is mostly shitcoins.
Yes.
There are Hong Kong, I say, is the shitcoin capital in the world. We are in a place called Cyberport, that is a hub for technology, and they talk about Web3, all this crap, and there is no Bitcoin only things here. I think that there in Lugano there is a very huge, strong Bitcoin ecosystem base.
Yeah.
I don't think that there are shitcoiners there.
Well, no, there are shitcoiners, especially. So the epicenter of shitcoiners in Switzerland is Zug, where everything from Ethereum to everything is in Zug. So luckily, Zug shielded us from most of the shitcoiners. But then in Lugano, there were a lot of Italian subpar, like low market cap ICOs. A lot of Italian people that wanted to launch a shitcoin ICO, they moved to Lugano to do it because it was cheaper than going to Zug. So we have those, and we are very tolerant with them. We just explain that we are trying to do something different.
Yes, and one of the categories that I wanted to ask, because I was not clear, and probably for the audience to be clear, there is one of the categories that is related to Lugano Citadel.
Yes. So it's
which kind of projects you expect to apply for this category?
Yes, this is a category non-profit projects, so it's not for VC. So you're not proposing a company; you're proposing to receive some money as a grant to basically run a non-profit activity for a different amount of time, depending on the amount of money. So the Bitcoin Citadel idea is to turn Bitcoin into a Bitcoin capital, a Bitcoin city, so a Bitcoin Citadel, because we use the Citadel meme. And the idea is Bitcoin technology or Bitcoin adjacent technologies to be used in the everyday life in partnership with the governance of the city and with the local merchants and the entrepreneur. The most obvious things would be payments. Like we already did 400 payments in Lugano, accepting sets, but also accepting USDT and the local circular economy Swiss francs stable coin, the Luga, which is basically a credit in Swiss francs that you can only spend locally. So this kind of stuff, payments, is something that we already experimenting with. We did it in a little bit in a top-down way. So we had the city of Lugano and Tether planning how to do it. And now we're trying to boost some more bottom-up initiatives. So maybe some other people are coming, experimenting new QR code ideas, new layer 2 ideas, new payment bridge idea, new regulatory ideas to reduce KYC needs and increase privacy or improve the user experience. So payments is one thing. Second thing would be identity. Now, Europe is pushing this in general. European countries pushing this very bad, centralized, censorship-centered, and zero privacy digital identity projects. In Lugano, we are partnering with the city of Lugano to try to boost alternatives to this. Switzerland is a little bit better than the rest of Europe, but not so much better. Sadly, Switzerland is bending the knees and following this Orwellian agenda from the rest of Europe. So the idea is to make Lugano a beacon of experimentation in the sense of decentralization, privacy. So something like identity. There are many projects connected to Bitcoin, like Nostr, that can be used for this kind of stuff. A few people also came to Lugano to experiment eCash for ticketings of something like the lake beach, the Lake Lido. You, in order to enter, you need a digital ticket, and they used eCash to do that. And there is the idea to do the same for public transportation. Another idea could be to basically help to digitally sign and timestamp the documents of the city of Lugano with something like PGP-based signature and open timestamps on Bitcoin. So open timestamps is also, open timestamps has been used by the government of Guatemala to secure the election, and also by a few counties in the U.S. for the presidential election. Why not using those in Lugano, for example? So that's another possibility. So Lugano Bitcoin Citadel is everything Bitcoin related that can help the local, either political infrastructure or economical infrastructure and tissue, or social one. So everything that can help. Or maybe in that case, even a new format of education, of community management. We run this weekly meetup. It's tonight, like Monday night, there is a meetup. Maybe somebody has another idea on how to engage people on the local in the local territory. People experimenting new stuff from Berlin in El Salvador to Benin in Africa. New ideas that can come. So literally everything which is connected with the adoption of Bitcoin asset and technology in the city of Lugano. Of course, the model that you proposed, there was one of the students of our Planb summer school was proposing a lottery scheme based on Bitcoin. That's something that the city can implement, for example. Another one last year was proposing something based on reward for garbage collection. So you put back the garbage and they give you sets. Anything like this is something that can apply for this category.
Excellent. And talking about the Planb forum, what can a person who attend there, what can expect on the 24 and 25 of October?
So the Planb forum is, again, it's Bitcoin only in the sense that we don't have shitcoins, unless you consider some legit discussion about stable coins, shitcoin, which to some, I understand why, but stablecoin will be discussed. We have the very strong presence of Tether, which is the company issuing the strongest stablecoin system in the world. But except for that, it's Bitcoin only in the sense that we don't have crypto, Web3, NFT, this kind of stuff. But there is also a lot of non-Bitcoin specific stuff, which is about freedom in general. So there is a lot. The conference in Lugano sponsored very strongly the liberation of Julian Assange over the years, and we hosted the Assange families, a family over the years. Now they will be back after the success of Julian's liberation. We discussed a lot about the cypherpunk origins of Bitcoin. We had panels with Adam Beck, Nick Szabo, and other cypherpunks about the very early ideological roots of the movement. So there is the ideal part of freedom, free speech. And then there is the technological part, which is also beyond Bitcoin. For example, we will have talks about peer-to-peer technologies in general. Like we said, Tether is heavily sponsoring QVAC and WDK and another technological idea based on the old punch technology stack. And a lot of Bitcoiners are passionate about this discussion as well. So it's also a conference that will include some level of connection with TradFi. So it's a mix. There are some conferences. For example, I'm just back from BTC in DC in Washington DC. I was there 2 days ago, and it was a it was a good conference, but a little bit suit coiner oriented. So you had senators, professors, politicians, investors. You had Michael Saylor talking. This is a kind of target. Another target could be the conference I just broadly narrowly missed in Berlin, the conference about eCash, BTC++. That's about developers and builders, and that's basically the target. And then you have conferences that are more ideological, like the Prague Hacker Congress, where you talk basically privacy, activism, and this kind of stuff. Lugano is a little bit in between. If you come to attend the Planb forum, you will see suits. You will see the banker, especially because in Lugano it's very easy to attract the bankers. There are many of them. They will come in, they will check out, they will discuss Bitcoin as an asset class from an institutional investor point of view. Then you can also meet the university professors. Planb network is running university grade, undergrad and postgrad courses in NTUT University of Taipei, in Polytechnic University of Turin. We are doing a partnership with Uzi and Supsi here in Lugano. We are running a program with the new university in El Salvador. We're running programs with the George Washington University in Washington DC, and with the MIT in Boston. So we're doing a lot of university stuff. You will find university professors, but you will also find a few developers, activists, and grassroots plebs. There will be a strong technical presence. For example, all the people that I told you about that are working here will be involved, and there will be a lot of also pleb community. There will be panels about memes and stuff like that. So I would say that this is not a conference that tries to cover one specific niche within Bitcoin, but it's trying to be a little bit a nexus, a little bit like a convergence of the different aspects of Bitcoin, which is a political ideal, but it's also a technology with some important technological aspect, and also it's also a financial asset with very strong financial implications. So the three of them together.
Yeah, it's interesting because we cannot deny the mainstream now that attracts the suits. And I say, as long as nobody brings shitcoins, it's okay, because we need the money, the big money from Wall Street. We need the suits. We need the companies to make Bitcoin mainstream. So that's
Yeah. I even people that thinks that we don't need it. I appreciate the sentiment of independence, but even if we think we don't need it, you cannot avoid it. So the point of Bitcoin is that you cannot stop anybody from acquiring Bitcoin because of the permissionlessness of the system. So thinking that if Bitcoin is succeeding, people will not use it, it's absurd. People will use it, including the institutional guys that will use it to the risk their connection with the fiat money ecosystem.
Excellent. I think that we cover most everything. I don't know if you have anything else to say about the Planb forum, the competition, before I pass to the last two questions that I do to everyone.
Now, the last thing is before you apply to, if you have a project, before you apply to the Cypher Tank, check out in general all the events around the Planb forum. So if you go on planbweek.com, there are many things from do-it-yourself workshops to build your other wallet to a shooting range appointment where we go to shoot together to a self-defense course Glock for Bitcoiners. To an arcade day where you can learn about the new layer 2 arcade, to a Bitcoin Swiss Association meeting, even the inauguration of an honorary consul. And then there are a few events about Bitcoin capital market and lending and investment. There is an event about passports and freedom of movement and residencies around the world for the sovereign individuals. So the Planb week is very rich of different things. So if you are around Lugano the next couple of weeks, check out the website, because it's not just today I'm pushing the Cypher Tank because it's the last 4 days you can apply. But in general, there's a lot of stuff to do in Lugano during that week.
Yes, yes. And I was telling before going live, I'm think that we are going. So I'm probably are
Looking forward.
probably see me there filming videos and checking the conference and enjoying all these vibes that you are telling us. So the last two questions, well, not two, there are three, because you're Italian and I have an extra question for Italians.
Perfect.
So the first of the last three is, how do you see the future of Bitcoin?
I'm very bullish. At this point, it's very hard to imagine. I try to stay rational, to stay calm, to stay critical, and to think about failure scenarios since 2013. And it's becoming harder and harder. That doesn't mean we should become complacent or lazy. We should always stay vigilant. We should always stay contrarian and alert and adversarial. But it's going very, very well. Basically, what I see right now in the future is a few major battles, a few major basic contradiction for Bitcoin emerging and maybe becoming a little bit dramatic, because they will emerge, but they're already there. One of that will be privacy. So Bitcoin makes sense because of privacy. The first rule of Bitcoin is that you keep your private key secret. So if you share your private key, everybody can move your Bitcoin. But the second rule is that you also keep the connection between your fiat identity and your public key secret, because if they are not, people can easily come to your house and use a wrench to make your private key not secret anymore. So the only reason your private key is secret is because your public key is not clearly connected to your identity. And the third level is that you don't have to connect your public keys, your many public keys between each other, because if you do, one privacy leak on one, which is inevitable, because if you go to spend, you will reveal some level of public key to the merchant. But if you connect them all, then you will increase the probability that your identity will be linked with your public key, which increases the probability that somebody with a wrench, either legal or illegal, will come to your house to extort your private keys. So this is not well understood by people right now. People are focusing on the price, they're focusing on the financial aspect. A few people are focusing on privacy, but I think it will become more obvious in the future. And people that will not care for privacy, they will probably settle for paper Bitcoin instruments like ETF and stuff, they can track the financial side of Bitcoin without the permissionless nature. If you want the permissionless nature of Bitcoin, I think you should avoid KYC exchanges, and you should stop reusing addresses. And many people will probably have to learn it the hard way a little bit with some suffering. So that's some emerging things that I see happening. And then the other things that I see happening is a huge explosion in new ideas for the UX. Right now, we spent a lot of time building protocols, the Lightning Network, the different layers tools that are connected to by the Lightning Network. So the Lightning Network is this giant routing system that will connect Driapun channels with ARCs, with Spark, State Chain, with Liquid, with eCash, Mints, all together in the single network. Now it's time to make the UX of this usable for normal users. So I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of good UX experiments where you just have one single wallet that will show you one single amount, and you don't care if you are paying Lightning like Phoenix, or if you are paying on Liquid Swap like Aqua, or if you are paying eCash like in Minibit. You don't even know. Based on the amount, on the security you need, your wallet will do everything on the unique universal Lightning Network. So that's also something I'm seeing happening for the first time. So one QR code, you don't care about now. Also with, of course, with RGB and Kaleidoswap, which is another company we're hosting in Lugano. The idea is that you may have one single QR, and from this QR, even the asset idea is abstracted away. So you have to pay. Your wallet will decide if you can pay in USDT or if you want to pay in sats directly and swap from one to the other, and that will become even more and more easy. And then long-term scenario, yeah, this was a little bit long as an answer, sorry. But long-term scenario, I think the other thing we will see is that so far, I think that so-called stable coin, which is basically fiat credit, uh, in a way helped a lot of people. It created a lot of freedom around the world because you can now receive, even if you cannot have PayPal in Africa, you can still receive USDT on a wallet. But he also created the illusion, the delusion that that fiat money system is sustainable in the future. So people in Venezuela, maybe they were unhappy about the bolivar. They were starting to understand Bitcoin, but now there's something more convenient, which is USDT. It's better than Bitcoin because it's not volatile and stuff. But eventually, fiat money tends to die. And I think that what we will see in the future will be the collapse of the US dollar. And when that happens, Bitcoin rather be ready because people will need it.
Yes, we will need it for sure. And I do agree that the fiat is going to collapse. I think that faster than we think. Especially when you read the book from Larry Lepard, The Big Print, you realize that it's going to collapse faster than we think. And let's move to the other question that is the official last question is, if you had the chance to meet Satoshi Nakamoto, what would you ask him, her, or them?
That's so many things. But probably if I really have to choose one question, would be the private key to the first block he might. That's good. If I have to choose.
That would be funny. And now, yes, the question that I ask to every Italian that come to the show: pineapple pizza, yes or no?
Okay, so now I have an official answer. Officially, that's immoral and should be illegal and criminally persecuted. But that said, I'm not a real Italian. I come from Milan. So Milan people are not even real Italians. We are basically Middle Europeans. So I'm so degenerate in my not being really Italian that I even eat. I did try in Milan when I was a kid, pineapple on pizza in Milan. It was not even that bad. So there is my official, if I want to keep my Italian passport, I had to answer absolutely no. But then there is reality. Milan people, we don't care. I can even drink cappuccino at lunch, which for the rest of the country will be a criminal offense. But I do it because I'm not. Milan is Italy cash. Like it's not the real Italy.
Yes, I think that if you go to Napoli, for example, and ask for pineapple pizza,
you risk your life. You risk your life.
They will kill you. They will kill you for sure. So, Giacomo, anything else you want to add? And again, how people can contact you and apply to the contest?
Check me out on X, Giacomo Zucco, my name and surname, and check out the planbweek.com website for all the details. And I will keep you posted about both.
Excellent. Giacomo, thank you very much for your time and see you in Lugano for sure.
See you soon. Bye.
And thank you very much to everyone who is on the other side. If you like the episode, please give us a thumbs up, share the episode, subscribe to our channel and to all our social media. Share this episode with the people you love. Share this episode with the people you hate, because we must reach 8 billion people and onboard them to Bitcoin. See you in the next episode of our podcast. Stay humble, stack sats, and remember, we are all Satoshi. And that's all for today. If you like the episode, please give us a like, subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media. Our X account is the Bitcoin _. Our YouTube channel is the Libertarian BTC. Our YouTube channel in Spanish is Libertarian BTC ESP. Our Patreon, the Bitcoin Libertarian. Our Instagram, the Bitcoin Libertarian. That's all. You can go there and follow us in all our social media.